Hello and welcome at episode 455 in the Decide for Impact podcast. Today you are listening to the conversation with Katja Diehl. As a best-selling author, keynote speaker and much more, she strives to influence the spheres of mobility, the future of work and diversity. Katja began her journey in journalism, evolving over 15 years into senior roles in the logistics and mobility sectors. Today, she aims to reshape the way we think about mobility, emphasizing a human-centric, climate-positive approach, guiding companies, fostering startups, and leveraging her expansive network. That's her mantra. A very interesting, active conversation. It was great to talk again with Katja. I hope you like this conversation too. Let's get started.
Welkom bij Decide for Impact, de podcast waarin je leert van ondernemers en experts die een positieve, duurzame bijdrage leveren aan mens en omgeving. Met persoonlijke verhalen die je helpen om impactbesluiten te nemen voor jullie bedrijf. Dan nu, jouw business coach, ErnoHannink.
Welcome to this new podcast episode. Today, I'm talking again with Katja Diehl. Welcome, Katja.
Thank you so much.
Oder willkommen. And I've been talking to you in 2022, almost 2 years ago. No, a little bit over 2 years ago now, when your first book was out, AUTOcratie. I still talk a lot about the book with people. I mention it a lot, so it's still in my memory. But also what I also talk about a lot is, so to give you some, as listeners, some idea of what we're going to talk about today is of the hate you got online after publishing the book, and you became more, recognized and more visible, and not just on the car, but also on other topics where you speak out. There's so much hate coming towards you, and it was a time when I saw you were disappearing. You just were very quiet on the net, and I'm very interested also in that part, and I understand it has a lot to do with that you are a woman. And you talk about a topic which is very dear to the heart of a lot of people. And why are we talking today? I have said just, but you just published the book Raus aus der Autokratie, rein in die Mobilität der Zukunft. Also, how would you translate that to English?
It's like, because one of my weapons, so to say, is humor. I sometimes need laughing as a coping mechanism, because it's all so absurd as you were tackling the hate and the disagreement and the fact-averse system. And so, of course, my second book also has a glimpse in the eye, because autocracy, of course, is a dictatorial system of politicians, but autocracy is also like cartocracy. The system on our streets is not democratic. It's totally observing how we can drive well, how we can park well with our cars, and everyone who is having another kind of mobility has to see to survive. When I'm on my bike here in Hamburg, I don't feel like the person in the car is at the same security level as I am, because I don't have my own ways. I don't feel secured. And that's me. And it's not about children and elderly who are even more defensive on their ways, because they are made weak. They are not weak, but they are made weak. And that's why I choose the title. And of course, the first book was more like telling the stories of people who are forced to drive a car, or who are who need to put a lot of money in their cars even if they don't want to. And it's about the people who don't have a driver's license, or who are children and who are forced to ask an adult, can you please drive me there, because here's no bike lane, because here's no safe way for me. And the second book is more like a systematic approach, because after 2 years, nothing had happened. The only thing we have is Deutschland ticket, which is a regional ticket you can buy for 49 euros. It will climb up in the price in Germany, and you can use all regional buses and trains. This is the only thing that happened for people without cars. But we still have all the system of privileges like Dienstwagenprivileg, company cars. We have no taxes on diesel, on kerosene, and that hasn't changed in the new, as we call, Ampel coalition. And so I felt myself the point when I thought about writing the second book was hopefully, knock on wood, the peak of hate against my person, because I have been on a very famous TV show in Germany. And afterwards, I got death threats, more than one every day. And I wasn't thinking about stopping my work, but I was thinking like, I'm a self-employed woman in Hamburg, I'm Spittel. Why want men, because it was only men who are writing me, that I end up my life. What is wrong here? And that was the idea coming to me. Okay, writing a book is pain in the ass, but maybe we need a second book after the first one, where we look into the brain, where we look into the politician system, where we look into the society which is built on cars in Germany, but also where we look at the people who change the world for the better. What is the difference between people who are reshaping Paris, Amsterdam, even Copenhagen and Nordhorn in Germany, and traffic minister in Germany who is so much into cars?
And you mentioned that in your book in the beginning that was February 2023. What did you say? Do you believe you did something special that because before you were also speaking a lot about the same topic, right? So you were just speaking out a lot on social media and you were well followed. So what happened? Why was it that this TV show made such a difference in the hate speech towards you?
We have an NGO in Germany which is called Hate Aid, because in Germany we don't have any laws against hate speech. In Austria, they are even better, that you can place when you're getting like an attack, you can place it in the justice system, and the people will go to find the one who is death threatening me. In Germany, it's all about freedom of speech, and yeah, people are telling me, of course you get that because you are pointing out at car people, and that is in Germany something you shouldn't. So it was not just like the hate that I got; it was also about people who try to see that I'm also into it, that I'm doing something which is earning hate, and I think we have to need like red lines. Even a Nazi shouldn't get death threats, because if we begin to loosen those red lines about what we can do in a democratic society and what we don't do, for me, it's a system failure. And in this special event on this TV show, of course, I was prepared, because 4 to 5 million people are looking this live show every Sunday. It was on TV, and I was prepared that there will be a shitstorm. Because it's always, that's my life, my daily life. When I get into formats with an audience, there will be happening something which is not good. I now have people who are working for me to secure me. If I know, okay, I will be on a TV show, then someone is having the contact to the people of the TV show, to the social media team, making screenshots. So I'm now in a secured position. But 1.5 years ago, I wasn't. I wasn't prepared that it will be so much of hate. And also the word shitstorm is not enough, because death threats is even way more than just a shitstorm. So 4 to 5 million people saw me, and they framed me in this setting the moderator said to me, "Oh yeah, that's Katja Diehl. She hates cars." And I was like, "No, I don't hate cars, but I'm questioning the privileges of cars." One of a conservative party said, "Yeah, you want to bomb up all the cars in Germany." I was like, "No, you don't know my work. That's not what I'm about." So it was like 3 or 4 times the framing for Katja Diehl was hating cars, hating car people, and it was not about the intersectional work I'm doing for better mobility for all. And when everyone is saying same and same and same, and it's always repeating a wrong framing, you are for the people, the women who hates cars. And you don't have any chance to fix this because it's like live on tape and it's like 40 minutes. Then it was an okayish situation afterwards, but some people of Axel Springer Media, which is a boulevard media owned by fossil fueled KKR, which is a private equity fund. So they have, as journalists, an approach which goes into fossil fueled agenda. They pick the line because I have been to a podium 1 week after, and there was this kind of headline paywall, and then explaining that headline. But people were just seeing the headline, Katja Diehl, I will take the dream of cars and houses from Germans. I didn't say that, but it was in the headline. So, and Hate Aid, the NGO I was talking about, they made an research just about Twitter for those days, and there were 600 accounts posting things about me in a bad manner, in a death threat manner, in a violently manner. And it was also part of the darknet where right-wing people are organized. And it was a research about climate activists who are getting always the hate speech because the people want them to shut down, to not be in the public anymore. And I wasn't touched by that. I was just touched by this overwhelming hate because I don't understand the system of hate because no one has something good out of it. The one who hates is in a bad way, and the one who gets the hate will be feeling bad. And for me, I don't hate. The harshest thing I can say is I ignore you. You're equal to me. That's the most the bad thing I can do. And I think that was the difference, that I was seen by 5 million people who thought I will take their cars away, which I can't do, but the feeling is there, and it has been always fired by it. It was always like climbing down and then going up again because certain accounts, especially on Twitter, were like holding the fire. And that was also when I shut down my Twitter account because it was too much. And now I have a person who is reading my mails. I have a person who is doing this work as a security guard for me. And I'm putting money on those guys who help me, because when you get death threats, you read them. It's like uh, you shouldn't, but you do it. It's not like, oh, that is a death threat. I should not read it. You read it. And the only way to secure me from this is like giving my mail to someone who will read it for me. Yeah, and so I'm really just secured because I have this newsletter. Every week I write a newsletter at Steady, and you pay €6 or more if you want for 4 newsletters a month, and that is the money where I can spend on my security system.
Right. How many subscribers do you have now?
700.
Wow, that's good. Two things. What I really, really, really admire in you is that this was the energy for the new book. This was your fire for the new book. And that you said, okay, I have to do something more instead of stopping and shutting down and just disappear, which a lot of women do. Right? A lot of women who get hate speech, disappear. And to give the people listening an idea of what you write about in the book about hate speech, they showed pictures of your house. They send you personal postcards, not just like on social media. It was everywhere. So and if you get a picture of your house, you go like, okay, they know where I live. I can imagine this is really threatening. And I can tell you, if I got this, I would probably just disappear. To me, this would be too much. And I really believe, I cannot understand how you cope with this in a healthy way. So I really think you're doing a great job. And I mentioned this part to a lot of people of how women particularly get attacked, and obviously by men, like 99%. I don't understand it, right? I have no idea why this is happening and why this continues to happen with all the women rights that we have, with all the now I forgot the right word for this. Doesn't matter. So I was hoping that we were in a better place, like in 2023, for 2020, whatever we are now. So to me, this is just I just don't get it.
Mm. And it's also for me totally fine that people disappear. And that is also for me that has been a really tough point of this whole setting 1.5 years ago, because I never thought about giving up. And that sounds very romantic and very, oh, she has a mission. But it was more like, fuck, I never thought about giving up. What's this? And for me, it was really part of my inner work last year to embrace that the point of no return was behind me. And I just couldn't say, okay, it's getting too serious here. I go back to my well-paid corporate job. No way, I couldn't. And that's also the struggle for me, that the monetarization of my business, I don't know, is really tough. It's really tough because people, for people, it's always like black or white. There's no gray. They hate me, they love me. The people who hate me have way better approach to rooms of power where the money is. And the people who admire my work mostly don't have any money. So I really struggled this year also with monetization very hard. I lost money. I can be serious about this because what you are saying about, I thought we have been in a better way to understand how a diverse approach, diversity matters, blah, blah, blah. No, at the moment, I think we're in a backlash situation. That's also why I love, hate petromasculinity. It's a short essay, I think, from 2018, which a journalist, she wrote it and was not searching for the topic, but she found petromasculinity, like the connecting the dots between petrol, Trumpism, patriarchy, white, able men. Oh, and when you read this, it's like every side, every page feels like a huge stone because you're like, oh my gosh, it's such a destructive system. And of course, everything that has been important and successful in the past has been burning stuff. The more you burned, the better you've been. And that's also why the 1% of super rich are the biggest problem in our world. But we are not so against them because we all think I might get super rich also. And that is for me a way of 7 years now where I've been working for myself, and I totally have another bunch of people around me because friends are still the same. I don't have that much people that I call friends, but the people around the friends changed a lot. because I'm too radical. I'm too. What always women are told, you're too loud, you're too whatever. And that for me, it has really been a journey of learning that I think will not stop until I'm dead. But I like to learn and I like to also go through the pain of my privileges, also to see how much I am part of the system that forces people in the global south to have a really bad life or to die. And that's also, I think, I see very clear why I don't earn so much money, because it's not nice if someone tells you, okay, you're driving this electric SUV, you're going to the bio supermarket, but you're still not part of the solution. In Germany, we have this fairy tale about a emperor who gets clothes, he thinks, but he's naked. But the people who sold him the clothes say, everyone who's really a good leader can see the clothes you're wearing. Oh, it's so nice. And the emperor's like, oh, yes, yes, yes. And he's standing there like naked. And every adult is saying, yeah, yeah, really nice clothes. And then comes this child saying, but the emperor is naked. And the adults are, okay. And I think I'm a bit of this child. I can't tell myself to be quiet. At some times, I say, no, electric SUVs are not a solution. From the first book, I had the really, really great gift to get in touch with so many marginalized people. And I think I'm their speaker, I'm their advocate. And that is really filling my heart, because in climate catastrophe, if we stay on the way we are now, like in a 3 degrees hotter world, the first people we will forget are the same people we are forgetting in our car-centric mobility. And so for me, it's really like, yeah, the mission is bigger than me, blah, blah. I feel really calm after 7 years of struggle with this mission, but it was hard work. And it was not sugar and candy also in my inner side. It was also the shitstorm from the outside, but also from my inside, it was struggling, because people are not telling you you're successful. You're here, get your money. Yeah? You need to find other things that shape your worth, and your inner self has to be really strong about the mission. Yeah, but here I am, and I'm not going away. The haters made me write my new book, so yeah. Now I'm laughing. It wasn't just only joking, but it's the humor of my dad.
Yeah, no, but I think I'm just happy that you are here. I see myself also as a part of the problem, like you. And I'm white, I'm a man, I'm 50 plus. I have a higher education, but I also made some choices. I also made some choices in my life that I want to do it differently. I don't want to be part of the system. Not I am part of the system, but not as we all do, as like with blindfolds on and just go. And I think that like with my podcast, I have shifted to since a year now to just female leaders, right? So I'm looking for a topic that I think the topic is interesting. And normally I would just find an expert, and now I'm just searching for a female expert, right? So I'm thinking, okay, who is a female in this field? And of course, that's easy. There's a lot of female experts in every field. So that's not the discussion. But to me, as a male, I have to do like an extra effort to look for women. And I think that's what we all need to do, right? You have to put in the extra effort on situations like you do, is you look at other people, like, people with abilities or disabilities, or with elderly people, or, people who can't afford a car, who don't have a driver's license. You look at all these situations and see, so what kind of difficulties are they having with this car-shaped world, right? I admire that you are able to place yourself in kind of their shoes and see how the world looks like from their point of view, and then you talk about it. And what I'm wondering about, to give you some compliments. But I'm wondering about is because if I remember correctly, the first book you got a lot of pushback because you have what kind of expertise do you have? You've just been talking to some people and then you put it in a book. Now you've interviewed a lot of people for your new book. You have your podcast, so you interviewed a lot of experts in your podcast. Do you feel that people now, and also your first book, of course, that they respect your expertise now more?
I was slightly smiling when you are talking because it's always the same. Like for some reasons, people are always pointing out what's fitting in their own agenda. For some, I studied media science and literature and sociology. In 2000, I get this, yeah. This is like 24 years ago. I didn't sit on a stone and watch the world go by. I worked 15 years for logistics, rail, buses, I don't know. But people are looking at what I studied. So it's really funny because,
Do you feel is that typical for Germany?
yeah, because our traffic minister, he's someone from having the right science, yeah. It's also not a topic. If you're in Jura, you're also not better in mobility. So for me, it's really funny because I think in every kind of mobility, we need people from different science or different just approaches or different lifestyles and different ages. It's not about the studies you had once in your life. It's about having an open ear and eye for people. We call always like with special needs that they are not special, they are needs. So that is where the problem is coming from. And I think people who dislike what I'm saying avoid meeting me, avoid talking to me. And of course, they need an accusation why they avoid me. And that's always about my lack of expertise. And they are not saying, like, you said this and this, Katja. I don't think so. I think this and this and this. They're always pointing out, look at her. What will she do? She just studied media science and now she's talking about mobility topics. It's like, eh? I talked about it in a podcast for Zeit. It's a weekly magazine in Germany, and Petra Pinsler was asking me, why do you get so much hate? And I was like, I don't know. And she was really funny because she said, you're not, you're always saying you have a driver's license. You're driving your mom and dad to their points. And people what are they seeing in you? And I think it's sometimes I think it's a mirror, maybe. And they see I am telling them this is a problem, and then they look in the mirror and they see, okay, she's addressing me, not that I do so, but maybe they feel ashamed of what their lifestyle is about, and they cut down their newsletter registration because they say, I don't want to hear it, like the three apes. For me, it's really like the symbol of discussions in mobility change that you replace something we can make better is like this and this, and the people say, no, I don't want it. No, that is not a vision to say no. If you have a better idea, feel welcome that we talk about it, but it's not about it. It's just, no, I don't want this. And if you talk about privileges, and the whole mobility system is full of car privileges. If you buy a cargo bike, you have so many things in mind. Oh, where do I park it? How will I make it safe? How will I make it that it is not always in the rain? You buy a car, you don't think about anything because you have the streets, you have three places where you can put it, and it costs you 60 euros a year to park it here in Hamburg-Eimsbüttel. It is a privilege, but the discussions we have about the transformation of our societies is all about privileges. And the people in power and the people with the privileges, they say like, I worked hard for this. No, it was a gift. You have stolen it from the whole society. You don't have to put all in the back in the society, but the privileges we got to know in caste system, you have to put back into the system because it is not okay that is such inefficient and destroying mobility in 2024. We just had this study from Transport and Environment that our oh, I, I feel right that we in Germany we put 3.7 billion euros every year in company cars who drive fossil fueled.
Billion.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And the Deutschland ticket, which I mentioned before, is 4.6 billion. That is something for everyone. A car is not something for everyone. And a company car is mostly, they said in the study, 80% of the driving with a company car is private driving, not for the company. It's like a bono. If the company is willing to pay instead of money a car, okay. But as someone living in Germany, I don't want my taxes for cars. I want it for mobility for all. And that's why I'm always tackling this privileged system and the people who stand there and, "Oh, I have this car and I have this job and look at me." And I think we need other dreams. We need other kind of sources for feeling worth of yourself. And when people look inside and there's nothing, and they need the outside with a big car, of course there is a lack of, if it's a way, yeah.
So many things go through my head now. I was thinking about this great example. I'm also trying to put some positive things in here, right? I was thinking about the example he gave of Vode.
Yeah, it's an outdoor company from Germany
Yeah,
who
but what's
was
the CEO? What's her name again?
Antje von Dewitz.
You know, I follow her as well on social media, so I know her a little bit. And you described in a book by interviewing her how they have changed the way that they look at mobility, and also about durability, right? So how the people come to the company is a lot of impact on how durable as a company they are,
Hmm.
sustainable, you could say. And so that was also an eye opener to me, right? So because in the news, in social media, I follow her and they talk about what they do with the clothes and everything, the outdoors. And I didn't know this part. So this part was really interesting to me to how you can also look at the other stuff that's going around outside your company. And also because have the office in a small town. And so people come by car a lot because, there's no buses, there's no train there. So yeah, that's a logical consequences. No, it isn't, but that's how we've created these consequences today. And they are changing it. And especially what they liked there was how together with a couple of companies, they reinstated bus lines to make it possible for people to come with the train and then the bus to various companies. So to me, it also tells me that it is possible together as you and me and other people that we can change this, right? That we
Hmm.
have the opportunity to break through this. And like reading your book, that you understand, yes, there is a way that we can change this. So the last part of your book is all about these ideas and topics and examples
Hmm.
of how things could be different. So I like that part. Another part I was thinking about when you were just saying is Europe, not just Europe, but also the US and Europe, is changing a lot with right-wing people in government and politics and taking over. Because you mentioned that people want to say just no, I don't want that. They don't have a new solution. They're just saying I want to stick to the old things. I would just go back to the old way. Everything was fine before, so let's go back to that part. How do you feel that influences the mobility in Germany specifically?
Yeah, I think, and that's two things came to my mind. You need to be, there is a book which has a title, Rage Becomes Us. I think it is necessary to find a good connection to your rage. And my rage is not against someone, but it's for people who are not part of the mobility system. We in Germany, we have a word saying Mobilitätsarmut, which means people are having a lack of mobility because they don't have the money to pay it. They don't have alternatives to the car, which is really, really, for someone, for so many people, it's not affordable. But it's also about elderly people sitting at home in rural areas where no bus is running, no system is running. So for me, it's also the word climate justice. We are looking on it like decarbonization, but it's climate justice. It's about, okay, carbon, but also about justice. And that is something we always forget because it sounds not so technical, it sounds more complicated. What is justice all about? And of course, it's not the easier way to think it not just as decarbonization, where you can put numbers on it, but for having a more justice system, you have to listen, learn where is the injustice coming from. And I think that the times we are now in are not something new. Also, the times when women shouldn't vote, it was not coming because of polite begging, please let us vote. It was also about fights, and they were even Russia and harsher than last generation because they made bombs. The suffragettes were really, yeah, really strong on the topic. But what I want to say with this is we have to have some fight about the future. We have to go into rooms with people we don't like and talk about the future. And we have to also be strong enough to see, okay, we are not having the same vision of the future, but what's the next step we can go together? And I think one part that is leading the people into right-wing parties is that right-wing parties always have very easy answers to complex questions we have. They don't have solutions. They never have solutions, but they make you feel like everything can stay as it is, which is a lie. And I think it is also a fail of the left from the middle system that they also try to say, yeah, it won't come, that it will be easy. Okay, and now we have Olaf Scholz, which is our chancellor, that says the Lieferkettengesetz, where you look upon every point of your resources coming from, we don't need this. Yeah. That is, again, justice. And I think that the people who want to change for the better, but they need a holding hand, are now helpless because also the Green Party and the Socialist Party in Germany are doing things that wouldn't be thinkable 10 years ago. Yeah. And I think it is important for democratic parties to not go too far right and to make like a copy of the far rights, but to have a clear vision of what is necessary in a world of crisis. In Austria, where I was on the board of Leonore Gewessler, she had this kind of super ministerium, which is Robert Habeck lacking, is this traffic sector. And I worked for her for 4 years, and I was just admiring what she's doing. And now I think it can be that she loses her job, but she was also, when it becomes about renaturalization on the EU level, she put her vote against her coalition partner because she said, I can't go back to my children and say I made it not happen. And this is something I learned from my book also. And I was really on a high fly when I had this these 105 people I interviewed, because they are very inspiring, and they have an ego, and they also like to be seen as someone, but they put themselves beneath the idea of a better future. And what I learned from them, it was Philippe Vathieu from Ghent, or Leonore Gewessler, or Carlos Moreno in Paris. They all said, we as politicians or other people who are people in power, we have the power from the people, and it is not something that will be there forever. It can be over tomorrow. When people are choosing another party or another politician, it can be over. And Philip said so inspiring words that he is more like a marathon man, not the sprint man, but he can go at any time and say, I always tried my best to change this for the better, and I never promised more than I can hold. And that is something I feel a really, really hard lack in German politics, because you need leadership. Leadership for something is something for me where you have a person that is inspiring people, that is there with a clear vision, but also a milestone planning. So there's the vision there we want to go, but we need to step A, B, C, D, and then we have to look, oh, where are we at C? Are we correctly on the way? And then the storm is coming, and the deniers are coming, and the hate is coming. They are standing there like a light fire and saying, this is the way, this is the way. I protect you all, but this is the way. And for me, it was really nice to see that those people exist, and they see power as an instrument, of course, but as an instrument for the society, not for themselves. And they are philanthropes in the best way. And they don't stay in power to have the power. They stay in power to be some part of the history that is made today. And people will tell more stories about Leonore Gewessler as about Volker Wissing, I guess. And even if she's now, because the people choose other parties, not the one who will be the climate minister for Austria anymore. She had 4 years that will be remembered, because she shaped the system, and she was really authentic. She was always driving the night train, and she was also on a bicycle. She told me once that she was coming to a really important meeting. Everyone was coming with the limousines, and she was like, hello, ring ring, with a bike. I am the most important person. But no one was expecting her to coming with a bike, yeah. And so for me, those people are really showing that change can be easy if you have a really good approach, also in matter of how soon you can see the change. It's not like here 200 meters of bike lane there. You have to be like huge changes. Like everyone who's going like every quarter to Paris, they say to me, wow, every time I'm there, there's another quartier that is shaped for the better. It's really amazing to see it. And yeah, so that was why I was writing the book in a bit like you have to go down, down, down with a like seeing the systematic failures we are doing, but then we go up, up, up with the people who are changing for the better. And the last part of the book are people who read my first book and put their car away, even in rural area as a family, which is normally no. And they said, okay, Katja, we read your book, AUTOcratie, and we are now, as a family in the rural area, we're placing our car. If it's shitty, we buy a car again. And they are now free from the car for 2 years because they have a cargo bike. They have, in where they live, they have cars they are sharing privately. Everything is possible, but we need to change. And that is again coming to privileges. It's not about someone in the global south to change. It's about us. And if you don't do this, you're part of the problem.
What I liked a lot about your book was the idea I got was the big changes I see are not on a governmental level. They are on like a city level, right? So the Bürgermeister, the city, the mayor of a city, he or she has a lot of influence how the city is shaped for the future. And in general, they also staying there for longer terms than just somebody who's in politics when they revote every 4 years in the Netherlands, for example.
They are using PTO and they are riding a bike. That is also very special about these persons, that they are in their society, that they are in their around their people who voted for them, and they also can be touchable and seeable. And it is not something where people are driving with someone in the car. It's really, for me, it was really amazing to see how they are, yeah, not in a in a kind of environment where you also like with like-minded people, but they are strong enough to ride a bicycle on the streets, and that is not good what you're doing, yeah. To talk about the town, that was so amazing to see that these people are really open for criticism and open for talks, yeah.
Yeah. I remember a documentary which was on a Dutch television show about, I think it was, she was the mayor of a town, Austria. I don't remember. She was liberal. And every afternoon, she would have like appointments from people coming to her office from the city. She was always open for appointments. And she had, like, for example, a maximum amount of money that she needed for herself. And the rest that she earned from her job as a mayor, she spent on people from her city. It's a beautiful documentary. It's in Dutch, but it's a beautiful documentary how it talks about how I believe, of course, you can look at it that the system is rotten, that we need people like her to do it differently. But also, I also believe that it shows that there are people out there who really see the good in humans and make changes, like small changes themselves every day. And also by just having these conversations, she learns so much about the citizens, what's going on in her city, and it will help her shape the rulings, and it will help to shape, what way the city is going to react and respond and how to do things. And I like that a lot. And the other part about your book I liked a lot was like the examples of some of the companies who are doing the right thing, like Vote. So to me, these are really interesting parts that I can see also, of course, you have then citizenship, like people like creative communities on sort of topics um, similar, right? So you have like strikes, like you mentioned a couple of times, the Netherlands. All these things for me are as like sparks as a reader that you can think, oh, I can do this. Oh, this is interesting. Like you mentioned, like people from the first book who deleted their cars, removed their cars from their homes, and you can test. And if it doesn't work, you can just go back. But, just do a test, find out what it works. Like to me, it goes like people, when we talk about climate change, people talk about meat or cheese. And okay, let's try just something different. Just shift a bit and see what happens. If you don't like it, you can always go back, but see what happens if you do make the shift. And I think that is such a beautiful thing that I've read in your book. I just love that part. I I think one part that well, two parts I still want to touch on was in the second part of your book, how the things are today, how they're standing still is a kind of like remark that you make there. The second last chapter is about the influence of media. What can you share a bit about that part, how you feel about that part and what happens here?
Yeah, that is something I also didn't expect when I started, that I will be um, yeah, so obsessed, so to say, with fake news, to be the correctional part, um, because I worked as a journalist, of course, and I know that you need, for to write a good article, you need at least two sources of information to have a cross check. And we have something that is grown into the media system, which is turned into false balancing. So also in Germany, when we had the European elections, so many journalists try to invite right-wing party people and to show that they are so good journalists that they can tell to the people they are wrong. You can't do this because they are so good in telling lies, and the lies are staying if they once are said in media. And for me, it's really something that is really strange that you need people who call themselves climate journalists, because at the moments we are now in, we have, I think, again, one of the hottest years in the European countries, and we have heavy rainfalls, and we have things we can see that are not weather, but climate change, and also elderly people dying of heat. I also see it with my parents. We have now a mobile climate system in their sleeping room. And so the vulnerables are the first who are forgotten. And media is not telling the story about it. It's like, and tomorrow we have good weather to go to the sea. We have like 35 degrees in September. And we were thinking like, this is so wrong. I had two bees in my living room today. It was like, it's October the 22nd. Okay. And that is something where I really don't have a solution how to not put too much energy in it, because there's this impulse of me to put the facts and to make the connecting the dots between. We have been to this approach before. Company cars are, for example, the future second-hand car. Yeah, so it is really, really important that they are going electric. 70% in Germany of the new cars are company cars. So how to build up a second-hand place for electric cars, if not with shaping the taxes on company cars? And that is something where media is really not helpful. And media is really like, oh yeah, of course, the traffic sector is a really, really big problem. And now we put the sector targets behind. I was like, yeah, how can we just wrote it down like in a diary? It's really a problem that is not solved. And also, as I pointed out, I made a special topic on Axel Springer Verlag in Germany, which is owned by KKR, private equity fund, very problematic because still investing in fossil fueled projects. And the second largest is also a fossil fueled equity fund. So, of course, the kind of journalism that is coming through this kind of boulevardesque Bild-Zeitung, Welt is not the journalism we need. It's not about facts. It's about hysteria and Robert Habeck Heizhammer, where the heat pump was thrown away in Germany. And there I am as a solo employed and feeling sometimes helpless because the reach of those rumors and making question marks and also telling stories about people like myself, that was really, yeah, as I pointed out, I don't have the solution because I can't not react because it feels like I'm strengthening their lives. But if I react to it, I'm playing their game because they want me to be paralyzed and not do something which is even worth doing it because they try to put me in struggle, of course. Yeah.
I see the strong connection between media and investment firms. So let's say economy, right? So money. Let's make it just clear. Money, right? Capitalism, money. And so these people are able to influence the media with their money. right? So if they, like what you just described, the Springer Verlag, when they are owned by this company, they can tell them in the end what to write and not what not to write. So maybe not that hard, but they can influence it enough so that there won't be too many negative images and stories and headlines on petrol or cars, right? Or fossil fuels or burning fossil fuels, whatever. So it is very clear that the relationship, the direct link between money and media is very dangerous. And we are losing honest and really good researched journalism. Of course, it has a lot to do with us civilians that we don't want to pay for newspapers or news like this, and we just believe that news is for free. And that means that real good journalism, there's no money for that. So that people are just laid off and we just have these headline stories chasers. So yes, it has all the relationship. Like you have like 700 people subscribe to your newsletter. That is right. So that makes it possible for to do this, to research, to do spend time on this, even pay people to protect you for safety. But obviously, it would be more logical if the journalism was like subsidized by the state. So we have honest and truthful and really good news that everybody can trust. And right now, that's not the case anymore. Actually, it's really weird because people who have these really uh, outside ideas, I would put them in that direction. They actually accuse the regular media, who is funded by the government, saying that they are not telling the right story, and they are. So that's also a weird direction which is going on.
Yeah, and what you see with the car maker Tesla and Elon Musk, he bought Twitter 2 years ago. He made it into a disinformation machine. He's now the right hand of Trump. He's now every day putting $1 million on someone who signs his lists, and that is something AOC just pointed out. They put the money to let the poor people dance. For me, it's really I'm glad that I have this good journalism in Germany, which is Krautreporter, which is Korrektiv, which is so many other platforms that are really making a good job, but always search for money, as you also said. And sometimes I also think that people want to believe the simple news. It's not just about the media making the problems, but it's also about the people having their framings and always just letting in what fits in their framing. And people in Germany always like to feel I'm poorer than, I'm working more than, and they don't want to be the well-paid people that they sometimes are, because it feels better. I don't know why, to not earn enough money, to not be enough seen. And of course, the backlash is depending on those kind of stories that it's the people coming to us are the problem now in Germany. They are not. They are the at least problem we have. We have a lack of money for schools, for kindergarten, for good health system. That is a real problem, but not the people coming to us. And that is how people are really like, ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Someone else is the problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is so easy to see clear what is behind this structure of this telling, but it's also easy not to see it. So it's really sometimes annoying how easy people with wrong way of thinking are having a reach out also that to form the politicians.
Yeah, it's looking for a scapegoat, and as you and I both know, with World War II, with the Nazis and Hitler, it was the same thing, right? So he had a great scapegoat and made sure that the public understood. So these are the wrong people, and we have to make sure that they get out of our society so that we have more and we have the right things. So that hasn't really changed, I would say, then now. And I would say this close related to the next chapter I was looking at, Gehirnschranken. So it has to do with what's going on in your brain. And you've been talking to Maren Ohne, or you read her book. I'm not sure what you did. So tell us a bit more about having, the right news in that fits your boxes, the connection with what's going on in your brain. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, that was really interesting for me. Maren and I never saw us in reality because we always pass by, but we are really have a connection from the beginning. Sister from another mister, and she is a neuroscientist, and she is a really good person to go through when I have questions like, why is it so unthinkable to change uh, what is lying here? Like we have the facts that the car is the biggest emission part in the transport sector, 62% and rising. And people are always like, also the flying, also, yes, it's all inside, but the car is the biggest. It's like my grandmother, when I was telling her I don't eat fish or meat, she was also not chicken, also not, I was like, yeah, it's the same kind of questions. And Myron told me that I have to read the people who are so against the change as people who have fears, but who don't have connection to their fears and who are not able to self-reflect. Why am I so against this needful, this urgent change? And that is not helping to know this, but you can read it better if people from the federal FDP in Germany who are so much into their cars that it's really irrational because the traffic sector is not hitting the targets, but we are still without any tempo limit in Germany. Maren told me that it's something from the Neanderthal, something from the very beginning of mankind, that you when you're feeling a kind of crisis, you want to get out of it, you freeze or you fight. And I think we are in the state of fight at the moment because the people who think that the status quo is well deserved and fitting to them shouldn't go away. Sometimes I think they have the belief that they can build a second world beneath our world, but how? It's because again about injustice. Also, like people on a bike, they don't have the emissions, they don't need the resources, but the biggest thing is the car, and the fastest thing needs the space. So, and I understood that it is really helping people when there are no new regulations, as we are now, it is forbidden to smoke when you're in a restaurant. 10 years ago, it was 10, 17, I think, or 7, I don't know. 10 years ago in Germany, it was like, oh, all the restaurants will go bankrupt if there's no one smoking anymore. And now I think when you are sitting there and having a nice meal and someone would put a cigar on, we were like, hey, are you freaking out or what? It has become normal. And it was not to forbid the smoking, it was to secure the people who don't smoke. And I, with our bicycle here in Hamburg, I think sometimes, oh, like, I'm such a nice catalysator. I breathe your air, also from the cruise ships, also from the cars. Of course, I will get cancer. And everyone will say, oh, Katja has lung cancer. She never smoked. Yeah, I smoked on my bike. And that is something where the social connections are coming in, that we are avoiding to meet people when we are sitting in our cars, because we start our journey there where we know the people and we are driving through everything. And then we are hopping out of the car where we want to go with the people we know. And there is no spontaneous short relationship with people like you have it on buses or trains. And on LinkedIn, and a lady said to me, "Ah, yeah, no, you are romanticizing what is happening in trains and buses." And I was like, of course there are sometimes journeys where I like my noise canceling headphones, but it's mostly about business Casper people who are on the telephone, you're like, oh my gosh, can you please put the noise down? I was babysitting, I was dog sitting, I was playing with children on the floor of the train. I was in nice talks with the people of the service of a train. I learned so much about people, also about people who are, of course, not my way of politics. I am, but we were in a conversation and we talked about it. And I think it is really a loss for democracy that we don't have this kind of third places anymore. Because every kind of third place, Starbucks is telling the story that they made its third place, but you have to pay for a high amount for your coffee. So we need, I think, even in rural and also in city life, third places where you can be just as a social being and have a look who's around me, who's living here, who's my neighbor. And that is helping the brain to feel secured. Because when you're not afraid of people who you don't know, you can let go to sit in the car. You can let go to feel insecure. You can let go not to feel connected to your community right beneath you. And Maren said that's also like an explanation why people who don't want to change the system are not trying to meet you, Katja, because they have to listen to you and they will say, okay, most of the things she say is bullshit, but the 1 or 2 points she got with children or elderly persons, oh, she was right. And that's why they avoid me. I don't avoid them, but they don't want to talk with me because they know their look upon the world will not be the same anymore. And that's about the brain and how the brain works, because Maren says when you and me, we are now talking, we are changing our brains, exchanging our brains, exchanging our yeah, way of seeing the world. And that is, I think, the most important part maybe of the transformation of our society. We need that we must come out of our cars and get in contact again. Yeah.
The same documentary has also a recent episode where Maren Orne is in, and she talks about this topic, not specifically about the car, but about climate in the way that we think. So it's an interesting topic. I will put it in the show notes. Again, it's just Dutch, but if you're Dutch, you can watch it and see it. There is so much more that we can talk about. I love talking to you. I love picking your brain and learning and seeing what you do. For people who want to get more of you, you are very active on LinkedIn and on Blue Sky.
Blue Sky and Mastodon, yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. Also, you are bringing out a children's book in 2025, in the beginning. So that's good. So that also children will learn more about this topic, how important their lives are influenced by the car and how we think about mobility, not just the car, mobility in general, I would say. I think that's great because that also gives parents a book to share with the children, to also think for themselves, because children books are even easier to consume than like your now the book you just published. So that's good. I like that a lot. I would love to have like another conversation like in a year or 2 years when you have your next book out and how things changed since then. Hopefully also in Germany for the better. Like things are happening out, like you described the book in Paris, like all the changes you see every quarter. That's so much going on. But also you mentioned a couple of cities in Germany who are changing. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to continue our conversation. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Katja.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm also looking forward because I will influence the adults through the children. Maybe this works.
I think it does because I know this guy in the Netherlands who talks a lot about climate change and changes of the system, and he brought his book about rain, the rainmaker, And it's a children's book. It's a very easy book, but it gives you a lot of opportunities to talk about the simple things and how, not how to change it simply, but how to explain it simply. So I think what you mentioned before, how the right wing is just using fake news, but also using these easy headlines to tell you how to change quickly and easily. So the left and the center needs more like storytelling to make their stories clear, what they think is important for you can't lie and say we can fix it quickly and easily, because that's not happening. It's impossible. But you have to have a good story like you are doing with the North Pole, and you have to make sure that you have a really good vision on the future, like Antje is doing, so that you continue with the story, and it's like an endless energy that you have to make sure that mobility for everybody gets on the agenda in Germany. So thank you for that.
Thank you for your time.
Dat was het mooie gesprek met Katja. Je vindt de namen en links die we noemen in het artikel dat bij deze uitzending hoort. Ga daarvoor naar decideforimpact.com/show 455. Mijn naam is ErnoHannink en ik deel mijn opgedane kennis, ervaringen en expertise met jou. Ik coach ondernemers zodat ze besluiten nemen om een impact te groeien. Wil je vanzelf automatisch de volgende aflevering op je telefoon ontvangen? Dat kan heel eenvoudig. Heb je een iPhone, dan zit daar standaard de Apple Podcast app op. Open deze app en zoek dan naar de Decide for Impact podcast. En klik op abonneer. Heb je een Android-telefoon, installeer dan eerst bijvoorbeeld de Player FM app. Open dan de app, zoek daar de Decide for Impact podcast en klik op abonneer. Dankjewel hiervoor. Heb je vragen, opmerkingen, reacties over deze aflevering met Katja of over de podcast in het algemeen? Stuur dan een e-mail naar podcast@decideforimpact.com. Ik hoor super gaaf van jou. Wil je leren hoe je focus en energie vindt met jouw innerlijke kompas? Hoe verbinding in je team het verschil maakt? Hoe je vertrouwen krijgt in je collega's en hoe je een moedig mens wordt? Download dan het boek Impact Besluiten waarmee je nieuwe medewerkers aantrekt op decideforimpact.com. Dit is mijn nieuwste boek en je downloadt het daarom helemaal gratis. Je hebt zelfs geen e-mailadres nodig. Vraag jouw boek nu aan op decideforimpact.com. En ik weet, je hebt een volle agenda, je leest het in 1 avond uit. Dankjewel voor het luisteren en graag tot de volgende.
Dankjewel voor het luisteren naar deze aflevering van de Decide for Impact podcast. Ga voor jouw volgende stap naar decideforimpact.com.